So in light of the whole Game Awards thing, a lot of people are wondering what the big announcements are, what the big reveals are. They've already said that they're going to have announcements, some worldwide reveals and stuff like that. We're not really sure what that looks like. There's speculation of some generation defining game. That could literally mean anything. I mean, remember Herman Holst reportedly thought that Concord was going to be Star Wars level. So whenever an industry insider says they have a like generational game that's expected to come, maybe don't put too much weight into it. Like, I don't think they have the best judgment on what is a generation defining or inspiring game. Okay. So I wouldn't put too much weight in that. But one of the games that's floated out, especially by some people in chat, is such as AMRZI Dan 03. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. But whatever happened to Monolith's Wonder Woman game? Could we see something during the Game Awards, since that's where it was first announced 2 years ago? I think that that's very possible. They've been gone. I think it was technically 3 years ago, actually, according to this article. But they've been gone for 7 years. The Wonder Woman game from Warner Brothers Games is still in development, even after 3 years of relative silence since the developer, from the developer and publisher, revealed at the Game Awards back in 2021. So not even 2 years ago, like 3 years ago. We've been eagerly anticipating new details on this single-player open-world action game, particularly as it's set to introduce an original story set in the DC universe. I wonder what this is like tonally, because typically, like DC and Marvel, they want a similar tone throughout everything. And if this has a similar tone to what we saw with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I'm not going to like it. Just being honest. But to be fair, Suicide Squad is sort of its own thing within the DC universe. It's always been sort of its own irreverent, wild, wacky thing. So it's possible that this still strikes a more serious tone, but I'm very interested in the lessons maybe they learned from Suicide Squad and the reception there, if they've made some changes, or how much they were sweating after that, if they were taking similar inspirations. But they say this means that the Wonder Woman game will work beyond the boundaries of the best DC movies and will likely draw more widely from comics for inspiration. I'm hopeful that this will be a new game of 2025 worth watching, but for now we're left speculating. It's still rumored, late 2025 at the earliest. It was unveiled originally in December of 2021, which no matter how you twist it, like 7 years for a big game like this is a big, massive development cycle. That is huge. And granted, they're expected to do Nemesis system stuff. They're expected to do some novel things that I'm sure take a lot of time and polish and refinement. But this, comes on the back of this clip we watched earlier from Greg Miller, who claims he's spoken to an insider who said that it's troubled, as you can see here.
I don't know. Here you go. You want it? You want the exclusive? I'll give you my Jeff Grubb information. All right.
Oh.
In the past year, because I'll leave it ambiguous, I have talked to an insider who was like, this game's troubled. That's it. That's all I'll say. Yeah. So I don't hold out hope that it's in a place to show something. And I think you could come out. Obviously, plenty of games are doing it. And again, what does troubled actually mean? That it's not like I got like, oh man, people are falling through level 4 or some shit like that. But it's like, I think it's not where they want it to be. I don't think it's ready for prime time. And then I go to, what the fuck is WB doing? What are they?
That is a question we've all been wondering. But I think perhaps like this is one of those predictions that's not that crazy and doesn't, or one of these leaks that's not that surprising. It doesn't impress me particularly much because it's very safe. It's like saying I have an insider that's telling me within the offices of Haven, the developers of Fair Game $, they're very worried after Concord. It's like brilliant. Novel. Who could have thought that was possible? With this, it's like it's been in development for 7 years. It's troubled. Okay. Didn't see that coming. It doesn't give me much to work on that we didn't already have. But having said that, something clearly is going on that's taking them so much time and that's causing so much headache, I think, within the studio. They have spoken intermittently over the years about it. They, of course, are the same studio behind Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. One thing we know for certain is that it won't be a live service or co-op focused experience, which is probably for the best once you consider how Gotham Knights did, Suicide Squad, of course, which every time Warner Brothers has tried that, it's ended quite poorly. So seeing them commit to it being a single player game is good. In a comment to IGN, this was specifically after a story broke where it was found in some job listings that the Wonder Woman game could have live service elements. As reported by WCCF Tech, Monolith, Middle-earth Shadow of War fame, is currently looking for a lead software engineer of gameplay on Wonder Woman and wants the candidate to have experience, quote, in helping maintain a live software product or game. People took this and were immediately like, boom, it's a live service, confirmed, lock it in. It's going to crash and burn. It's going to suck. But Warner Brothers actually came out, offered a comment where they just directly addressed it, much to their credit. You know, they didn't dilly-dally at all. They said Wonder Woman, quote, is a single-player action-adventure game set in a dynamic open world. This third-person experience will allow players to become Diana of Themyscira. I don't know. And introduce an original story set in the DC universe while also featuring the Nemesis system. Wonder Woman is not being designed as a live service. End quote. Which pretty rare for a studio or publisher to come out and just be like, nope, it is not live service. So props to them. But they go on. There's been other little bitty things that have been leaked. For example, they sent out some surveys which were interesting, and they've since all been, as far as I can tell, they've like all been taken down, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, like as you can see even here, this was a post from June, but all the pictures have been struck. And it says, according to an online survey, Monolith's Wonder Woman game will feature circumvading Themyscira with an army of monsters. Players will meet iconic DC characters like Cheetah and unique enemies using the Nemesis system, engage in fast-paced combat, and explore Themyscira's open world. Okay, or Themyscira. I can't read. And already people are like, I hate to break it to you, my friends. The surveys include all sorts of information, whether it's like, would you like to see regular updates on our games? Or would you like occasional big updates like trailers? Would you like to know about this type of, it wasn't a lot of stuff, but in the surveys header, they had pictures and artwork. So there was at least, a little bit of information there that was new that has since been struck. They don't want it up for whatever reason. But if I recall correctly, it was a picture of like Wonder Woman, like with her shield and whip and like ready to go and attack, and she's flying through the air, and then in the background are some of the Amazon fighters, and it was pretty standard concept art as far as I was concerned. Nothing too stunning or novel. But as they continue on in this article, as Wonder Woman is in development from Monolith, fans were wondering if the game would use its widely popular Nemesis system, and it's been confirmed that they will use it. As you can see in their previous statements, it's expected that this is going to be used, of course, for the general grunt enemies, not just for high-level, like, supervillain class enemies. I honestly don't know how well this will translate, and maybe this is part of the difficulty. Like, in Shadow of War, the idea was literally any enemy that you run into could defeat you and then become part of the story, get promoted, start climbing the ranks, gain new abilities, and any sort of dynamic experience that you have with any sort of orc or anybody, that could turn into your primary like plot point for your entire time with the game, which is a cool idea. I mean, the fact that for me, it might be some orc named Gimblar, and for you it was Zimzam the fire breather, and for me it was Grimgroll the mud slayer or something, and we have totally different basically antagonists in addition to the main story stuff, but it's all completely dynamic. It's all born out of the gameplay and how we actually did it, and that's really, really cool. With this, I don't frankly know how it will work, because I don't think they're going to be doing a thing where like Wonder Woman is being killed and then resurrected somewhere else, because it kind of defeats the point of Wonder Woman if she's just constantly getting like murdered. That doesn't really make sense to me. So I don't think that they're going to do that. So then it's like maybe when Wonder Woman is downed, then they level up or something. Like, I don't know how this system, as we've seen it, translates to the Nemesis system, with a Wonder Woman game. I just don't know how they do it. They probably have an interesting idea, an interesting concept. They've been working on it for 7 years. They better, but I think it's going to play quite differently than it did with Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, which might be awesome, but it might also be like, oh, this is what you did with it. I'm interested. Zip Zap Zop, the theater orc. Dude, Zip Zap Zop, that's a deep cut. That's how I know you're a theater person, if you know Zip Zap Zop. So it doesn't surprise me that there's perhaps drama behind the scenes with it, that they're struggling to try and figure out how to get this working. I do think we see it some point, what they've been working on, because it's been a long time. I mean, they've been working on this for a long time, and at some point they've got to just put it out there. They got to do it. Monolith Studio. No, that's not what I want. Monolith Productions. I was like, this doesn't look like a game studio. Sure doesn't, because it's not. Let's see. The last thing they did, this was pinned from December 9th of 2021. They've done Happy Wonder Woman Day. This was the
I must call you home.
Original announcement, all cinematic, nothing to really work with, but it's been 3 years. 3 years since the announcement. I think the odds are pretty high we see something. Now, this makes me wonder if there's been any suggestion within their earnings calls. Do any of you guys recall any information about WBD and earning calls suggesting a new game release later this year? Was there anything like that? Does anybody recall? I asked Grok to scan X and see if they could find anything. In 2021, Q1 2024 earnings call, Warner Brothers Discovery highlighted the disappointing performance of Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League compared to the blockbuster success of Hogwarts Legacy. Similarly, in the Q2 2024 earnings report, gaming revenue had fallen by 41% compared to the same quarter in the previous year, primarily driven by the weak performance of Suicide Squad. This report does not mention any new game releases, but focuses on the financial impact of existing games. I don't remember hearing anything about it either. And I think if they were like, we have a big something or other coming later this year, I think we would have expected to see it. If it's coming late next year, then that would explain why we haven't heard anything about it. They might suggest that they have an announcement incoming, but they might also just keep that close to their chest. Most of Shadow Mordor / War was invading enemy strongholds with generals in the Nemesis system. How does that work when you're on your home turf? Well, I think that stuff just won't be in the game. I don't think it's going to be outpost based. That's why I'm just saying it's going to be very, very different. It's going to be different because if Shadow of War and Mordor were all about, any number of these little grunts could become your adversary, but specifically by them killing you and then you coming back, being resurrected, and then fighting them again with their memory being preserved because time has passed and now they're a little bit stronger and bigger. And then if they kill you again, then they keep growing in strength and power until eventually they become like a warlord and are just crazy powerful and capable. But they started from absolutely nowhere. But the mechanism by which this happens is them killing you or just time passing after they have some conflict with you. For the Wonder Woman game, I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it is a Nemesis system just based on dynamic enemies and NPCs that are mini supervillains. Maybe that's how they do it, but I don't know. Do you think they show games way too early? Should they wait longer until the game is closer to be released? I think they typically show games when they think they're in the home stretch. I think something happened between 2021 and now behind the scenes in the development that made them think they need more time. Could be something as simple as a technical restriction or problem that affected it. That could be it. It could be something as significant as they were planning to do some crazy story point that now is considered insensitive, or you just never really know what's going on behind the scenes that could require reworks or redos. But something happened. I don't think anybody releases a trailer for a game thinking, okay, and then we'll release this in 4 years. I don't think they planned on that. I think they probably expected it to come out a year or two ago, but something happened that delayed it and has caused all of this. Maybe hardware too. Yeah, it could be a hardware thing. It could be that they developed this whole game around 30 FPS on consoles, and then they realized with some surveys and internal testing that if we release this with just a 30 FPS mode on console, people are going to lose their minds. So we need to delay it and hit 60. Could be something like that. There's so many different potential things that could affect this. And I mean, Warner Brothers right now, you better believe after Suicide Squad and all this stuff, they are looking at like, we cannot have another screw up. Like, we cannot have wasted 7 years of dev time and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. We just can't do it. The other piece too, which is possible, we know that Warner Brothers is having a lot of their studios help work on the moneymaker, which is Hogwarts. It's very possible that they also are tapping some dev staff over at Monolith to help with the director's cut of Hogwarts Legacy, which Rocksteady's doing, even though Rocksteady is actively working on their own live service game. They've been cut and they've been forced to work on that. So it's possible that that could also be affecting the total dev staff that they have. Is Wonder Woman a PlayStation exclusive? I don't think they've said. No, I don't think so. I'd be surprised if it were. They might do like a paid exclusivity thing, but I'd be surprised. I don't think as of right now, I don't think anything's confirmed. Andromeda had a trailer while the game itself almost didn't exist. Yeah, but that was also what? The trailer was 2016, 2015, something like that. There are some examples of games, certainly, that release trailers just as a proof of concept, basically. Like Elder Scrolls 6's trailer, literally, there was nothing done for the game. It was just a trailer to like set the tone and vibe. So it does happen, but I think for these studios that actually have worked on a game for years and years, which at that point they had worked on the game for 4 years when they released that Wonder Woman trailer. I don't think they thought they were in for another 4. Whereas Todd, I think, definitely knew we don't have anything ready for Elder Scrolls. Put the trailer out anyways. Because that was pretty clearly, and I can't believe people don't realize this, that whole presentation from Bethesda when they announced Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 all at the same time as a bunch of Fallout 76 stuff, that was pretty clearly because they knew they were about to go into negotiations to make a deal to sell ZeniMax, and they needed to maximize their perceived value. And so they went out there and they started really, really pushing it, saying, look at all the stuff we've got. Look how excited fans are for all of it. And I mean, we know how it went. He took my thing.